welcome to Mr. Randy's Wine and Spirits. I am Mr. Randy, and today we're going to be doing a full review of a wine. This is the Barefoot Sweet Red Blend. Now, this is a 10%, which is, it's actually a 10.5%. I don't know what it is about the wine industry that doesn't want to use the smaller half percentages, but it is what it is. So there isn't a whole lot of information to be scraped up off of this wine, and I've given it 2 days, which I think is a pretty standard for the wine. Now, like I said, it's only 10%. Mr. Randy did pay under $5 out the door for this. This wine does come out of Modesto, California. They say it's a blend, but there's no information I could get out of what it's blended with, what kind of grapes or whatnot. They don't give out a whole lot of information on this wine. It's very unfortunate, but I guess what it is. I mean, they do like to state that they win awards and stuff like that, but they don't want to tell you anything more than what you need to know, I guess. Well, there it is. So there's the wine. It's a sweet red blend. It's got a pretty decent, looks like a little dark cherry, which completely matches up with the nose. It's got like a sweet, that sort of sweet sourness that you get off a typical red wine. It's the tannins of the cherries, and I'm sorry, the grapes, and the sulfides. It's not bad on the nose. A little bit more on the black cherry, but it's definitely pretty good. For the nose, I mean. The palate's not too bad either. Let's get on there. It's a little more mellow than the first pour. So if you're new to the channel, hello and welcome. To all my returning viewers, always good to see a friendly face. So part one, we do off the rip, which is the first pour. I share my experiences with you, my first impressions. Part two is where we're at. Well, maybe down here. But part two is where we do a full review, give all the information I possibly can. In this case, next to nothing that we've already discussed. And then the third part is when we get down to the final pour and we decide whether or not that last pour is any good or worse than the halfway point or the first pour. So the palate is relatively moderate of pretty cheap generic red wines. It's got a pretty nice mouthfeel. This is a wine that you easily get acquainted with. There's a lot of wines out there, and I'm even gonna throw mine out there. My favorite wine of all time. I'm gonna throw that out there. That Yellowtail, that jammy red roux, it takes a little acclimation. What that means is you kind of have to get used to it. It's an acquired taste. Wine, good wine, is an acquired taste because you have to kind of get past the negatives in order to gain the positives. So with wine, yeah, there's some negatives. You have the sulfites, you have the tannins, you have all those little drawbacks in the flavoring, but you kind of like mentally omit them in order to get to the goodness. You get to those very like cherry, those deep fruits, and those characters, or some of those bad characters, are worth getting over to get some of the good characters. Not a lot of bad characters on cheap wine, other than the fact that it's cheap. The pros, not so great, but the cons are very few. I mean, it is what it is. It's a cheap wine. $5. This could be found on pretty much every grocery store shelf that has a wine section. It's not bad for a cheap wine. And the more you drink it, the easier it is to drink. And that's quite the way it is with any kind of alcoholic beverage. But with wine, your ABV, which in this case is only 10.5%, we'll just say 10. Your 10% ABV, which is your 20 proof, wines are pretty easy to drink. And you can sit down and drink a whole bottle of wine in probably one setting. Easier and quicker if you have more than one person. But yeah. So it is a pretty good bet. It's much better than that other one I had, the Sutter Home. But nowhere near the Yellowtail Jammy Red Roux. So the palate is relatively nice. I wouldn't say you pick up a whole lot of that black cherry that you get off the palate, but the palate is relatively nice, easy, smooth. It's a very easy drinker. The finish, I don't really think a finish is applicable here. You can try work one if you want. You might be able to pull out a few different characters. I don't think I really can. I think what you get on the nose, on the palate, is basically anything you're going to get off the finish, if they even want to call it a finish. So what is my score? So I'm going to probably score this a... You know what? I'm gonna peg it at a weak 3 out of 5. I mean, less than $5. Very easy to drink. There's not a lot of cons in this wine. It is a sweet red. It's blended. I guess a bad downside was it's coming out of California. But I don't blame California for that. I blame the people who are misrunning that state. That's a state problem. That's a government level problem, not a topographical problem. California is probably the second to third place on the planet Earth that makes pretty good wines, because that's where you get the grapes from. You get the wine out of the grapes, and the grapes grow in these areas because of the elevations, the geological attributes and whatnot. France, of course, I think everyone knows that France is where a lot of wine in the world comes from. Australia, you just saw that one, the yellowtail out of Australia. It comes from Australia. Spain also has a big wine industry, but they're very specific to very particular types of wine from very particular types of grapes. But this one comes out of California, so it's made in the USA. I guess we'll leave a lot of the politics out of this, but for a $5 decent bottle of wine that you can get off your grocery store shelf while you're picking up your weekly groceries or whatever, I'd have to say, yeah, I think it's pretty good. We'll give it a weak 3 out of 5. It is what it is. My fair price, I'd say we could leave it alone at $5 a bottle. I mean, the only few caveats that I have that might bring it down is that it's in a clear glass bottle. Now, most good wines, any wine that's worth it, is going to be in a colored glass. It's either going to be green or it's going to be like dark red or black. This will protect the wine that's inside the glass. Now, this wine has organic compounds. Now, the light coming down and sunlight, mostly sunlight is worse, but you know, indoor incandescent lights and stuff like that, incandescent lights, they can really rob the juice of good quality components. All these organic compounds they're decaying. They're in a state of decay. Once that bottle opens, the clock is running. Not ticking, but running. So a good wine may last you 5 days. If you have it in the bottle and you keep it in the bottle, you could probably keep it up to 5 days. If you decant it, you need to drink that within 2 or 3 days. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to drink it. So let me know in the comments. Oh, wait. Would I buy this again? No, I have many bottles to get to down the line. I may come back because they're so cheap and readily available. That's where I'm wanting to keep this line going, so that I can show you bottles of wine that you can find on your local grocery store shelves, and we could talk about it. Tell me what you think. It's only $5. Try one, and then we could talk about it. So would I buy this one again? I don't see the need to. I have Barefoot has like about one in each varietal. So yeah, there's a whole lot to go through. So I don't think I need to come back to any one bottle unless it's outstanding. So let me know what you think in the comments. And as always, thanks for stopping by here at Mr. Randy's Wine and Spirits. You have a good one.